So in this problem, we're given two inequalities. They're both the same expression. It's just one is less than or equal to 0 and the other is greater than or equal to 0. And we're asked to solve them, writing the solution in interval notation. So we'll start off by solving this algebraically. So we look at just dividing it by -1 so we can see if it'll factor. We're looking at (x squared plus 2x minus 4 less than or equal to 0. If we divide that by -1, we get x squared minus 2x plus 4 is greater than or equal to 0. But again, the main reason for this is to see, are there any two numbers that will multiply to +4 that add to -2? There are not. And because of that, it will not factor. And therefore, we're going to go ahead and use the quadratic formula. So remember, x equals -b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. So x equals -2 plus or minus the square root of 2 squared minus 4 times a in this case is -1 and c is -4. All over 2 times -1, 2a. So that equals -2 plus or minus the square root of, well, this is 4, minus 4 times -1 is -4 times -4 is 16. So this is 4 minus 16 all over -2. And if you'll notice, we end up with -2 plus or minus, that's the square root of 12. Which is going to be 2i times the square root of 3 over 2, which then further simplifies to 1 plus or minus the square root of 3i, or I times the square root of 3, whichever way you want to put it. Well, what that tells us is that there are no x-intercepts, and therefore x will, or this will never equal 0. If we graph it, it's going to end up looking something like this, which means it's always less than or equal to 0 because all of it is contained below the x-axis. So in interval notation, since it's always going to be less than or equal to 0, that means infinity to infinity. And it's greater than or equal to 0, never. So that means there's no real solution or no solution. You could say, technically, if we want to stick with interval notation, some might say, you could say it's the null set. So this is an example of when graphing would actually give us a definite solution. Is when we don't have to find the x-intercepts. We just recognize, oh, it's all either true or all false, depending on which direction the inequality is.